Good day and welcome to The Insight. We're going the way of the United Way of Jamaica, and we have with us the chairperson of United Way of Jamaica, Marcia Forbes. Welcome, Ms. Forbes.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Still can't call you Marcia. You, after all, were my boss once, so therefore the respect remains. But I've been fascinated, and I've been watching you get on with the United Way of Jamaica and see your passion. And I say, you know something, it's time we bring you in here. And on the background of the fact that government can't do everything.
Absolutely true.
And I see you working your thing. But let's start from the beginning. The name of the program is Insight. So we really want an insight, not just a voice clip, a real deep insight into what is United Way of Jamaica, from whence it comes. Do you have an overriding body? Give me the organizational chart, if you may.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Michael. It's pretty awesome. What is the United Way of Jamaica? The United Way of Jamaica, we're about 33 years old, and we are the leading NGO, non-governmental organization. Our primary goal is to raise money to fund projects, and these projects must benefit individuals, society in general, and Jamaica at the wider level. So we don't just give money to all who come. The projects have to be vetted and screened to ensure that they're projects that are worth the money that the United Way of Jamaica is giving to them. So we're primarily what we call ourselves a resource mobilizer. So that really is money.
Mobilizer.
Yes, we mobilize money to fund the private voluntary sector of Jamaica. So we don't fund government or companies' projects. We fund those projects that some others might not be attracted to. So a lot of institutions, recently we gave $1.4 million, as recently as less than a month ago, to 4 institutions that their primary mandate is boys at risk, like the Joytown community. And earlier on in the year, a couple of months before that, we funded 6 basic schools, another $1.4 million cash. We don't just give them the money, we call them in, we have a conversation, because these are grants. These are not loans. They're grants, you don't pay back.
Okay.
But we have to ensure that we know that these projects will be executed.
It's not a slush fund.
No. And we go into, right across Jamaica, whichever parish, we go into the parishes to look at how the money is being managed. So earlier this year, we were up at the boys' home, fantastic boys' home, and the name is just running away from me, on a hill in the hills of Manchester. And we gave money to pig rearing and chicken farming to help the boys. And we saw that on the hundreds of acres of property, they were getting on along with using the money very, very productively.
In terms of the organizational chart, is your organization a part of a worldwide body?
Yes.
Or do you do it independently?
Yes. We are a part of United Way Worldwide. We're a member. So we pay some dues. Now, 33 years ago, there was a recognized need in Jamaica for some level of sustainability of the private voluntary sector. A charge that was led by the CVSS, but very strongly supported by USAID, resulted in the USAID giving a grant. $3 million US 33 years ago was a lot of money.
Yes.
It still is today, still is. Yes. And $6 million Jamaican dollars to be used over a 5-year period. A key part of that grant was that we were to set up a mobilizing arm to help the voluntary sector. And so this is how the United Way of Jamaica was born, because the project director that USAID brought to manage those 5 years of the project, that project director was a member of the United Way of America. And so that person, Virginia Birchall, she brought all her knowledge and skill sets gained from the United Way of America, which subsequently became United Way Worldwide.
Okay.
And Jamaica is the first United Way outside of United Way of America. Yes, we're a big crown in the United Way Worldwide dispensation because we're the first one that was launched outside of America. Subsequently, they have replicated and used, they have a number of United Way outside of the Americas now.
Is there still a relationship with them? Close?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We have a close relationship through the United Way Worldwide, which is headquartered in Washington.
Okay.
And there's a vice president of Caribbean and Africa region. And so, in fact, they were here earlier this year. They were here in 2015, representatives. They were here in 2017, and they were here earlier this year. Because no man is an island. United Way of Jamaica is not an island. We look at the best practices of United Way worldwide and see they've been going through transformation, and United Way of Jamaica is going through transformation as well. And so we look, how can we learn from the lessons that they have learned? Interestingly, we have a member of their worldwide board, our Mariam Robinson, head of First Global Bank, is a representative. She came to it not through Jamaica, but through her workings with her academic work abroad, that she was invited to the board of United Way Worldwide. So we have a very rich, very strong history, and United Way Worldwide will tell you that they're very proud of United Way of Jamaica in terms of our resilience. Not a lot of organizations can survive 33 years, and we're now
with an economy that
yes,
that's what it does. Yes.
And we are a donor-based and voluntary-based organization. We have a very, very small secretariat that runs both the United Way of Jamaica and the Council of Voluntary Social Services.
All right, help me with that now. Yes. Okay, so I got this American gathering first 33 years ago. United Way of Jamaica. Then there are two other bodies under that. There's a voluntary and the secretariat.
Not under. The CVSS is 70-odd years old.
Oh, okay.
It came out of the 1940s when there was a lot of fervor in Jamaica. You know how it was in terms of labor and development and movement. And so there is very strong support in those days for the voluntary sector. Everybody wanted to do good by Jamaica. We still want to do good by Jamaica, but a lot has changed. For example, the companies that used to support the United Way of Jamaica substantially, like the Grace Kennedys of this world, they have now moved to form their foundations. And so the fund giving is a more challenging task. And so this is a part of my mandate as a recently appointed chairperson, that I need to make Jamaicans aware of this body called the United Way of Jamaica and what its mandate is. And I'm going to read a little note that Elsie Sale. Elsie Sale was this volunteer who led the charge at the Council of Voluntary Social Services and actually wrote a book that was published in 1994. And she said that the establishment of the United Way of Jamaica was a most significant event in the history of voluntary social services in Jamaica. In her book, she made the point of how important it is for Jamaicans to own and support the United Way of Jamaica. Over time, the young ones who led that charge, the Elon Beckfords of this world, the Carlton Alexander of this world, these persons have either moved on in age or have passed. And so this fervor of volunteerism and of supporting the United Way, my mandate and mission is to bring the young people like Chris Law, who you're going to hear from, to bring the young people into the United Way of Jamaica and help them to cultivate this passion for giving back to our country.
What is the mantra for the United Way of Jamaica? What is it that purposes you, that you, when you speak of it, you give a short phrase and people get it?
Well, we say that the United Way of Jamaica mobilizes financial resources to help the less fortunate.
Okay.
In a nutshell, that is what we do. Yeah. And that volunteerism pays. Volunteerism pays because each of us get back so much when we give. And we've conducted surveys and focus group sessions over the last, going into almost 3 years now. Every year we collect data because we're actually writing a book. We're writing a book on volunteerism in Jamaica, some thoughts.
Yes, I'm going to give you a chapter in the book, and if you could expound on it for me. It's called, If I Can Help Somebody As I Pass Along, Then My Living Will Not Be in Vain. Yes. Expound on that for me, please.
Yes.
Because that seems to be the reason.
Absolutely. The reason on debt for many of us, our lives, is you live this life and you pass away. And I'm reading a book now, which I can't call the title on air because it has the F word in the title. Ooh. But it talks about this life and how we, at a point in our lives, we recognize that the conceptual self, that you want to leave a legacy, you want to give back in a way that it is as if though you did not die, because all of us have to die.
Yes.
And so through volunteerism, you plant something, sow and water something that is way beyond you. And in my own life, I grew up in a household that you had to give. Yes. There was no two ways about it. My aunt was a head teacher of an all-age school. My uncle was a financial controller of Cremo Limited, which people who lived in those days know that Cremo was like a leading entity back in those times. And so we grew up knowing that we had to participate in church. We had to sing on the choir. We had to teach Sunday school. We had to be involved with harvest and giving. And right. So that is my base for how I feel now.
Very well. And we're going to take a break on The Insight and come back and get much more. So who is this lady? We'll be right back on The Insight. Welcome back to The Insight. Today we're dealing with the issue of the United Way of Jamaica. Volunteers group, raise money to help the less fortunate. And we want to hear about how they are structured, what are their goals, and what's for them for the future. Marcia Forbes, the chairperson of United Way of Jamaica, is with us. And we, of course, will also be having another member, donor, worker, if you may. And he is a law by himself, but we'll get to him later. But we were talking about the structure, Ms. Forbes, and we get the sense that there's a board, their committees help us in terms of forming out, because the insight that we're looking here is that when people give, that they know that the money is safe and that it's protected by all kinds of restrictions. It's not that we don't trust, we just verify. We're like the banks. So how does it play out in terms of the structure of United Way?
Yes, thank you, and rightly so, that when people give their money, they should know that the entity that they're giving their money to use the money in the way it is intended. And so the United Way of Jamaica is structured with a board of governors. It's the same as a board of directors. We are all volunteers. We don't even get gas money. So unlike government boards that you might get a gas money, we get nothing. But we do it from the goodness of our hearts and wanting to give back to Jamaica, because you said earlier, Jamaica really runs on volunteerism.
That's right.
The country couldn't run if it weren't for volunteers. So we have a board that does not exceed 33 persons as our board of governors.
And does it represent Jamaica,
yes,
the span? Or?
Well, you have to have certain skill sets to be invited to the board.
Okay.
So, because every board needs certain types of people.
And
so
since you're not paying them,
yes,
you might as well go after what they have.
Yes, the skills, the treasures. So finance, we have somebody who must understand finance, who runs our finance and admin committee. We have chairs of various committees. In all, we have about 10 committees.
10 committees.
Yes. 5 of them are straight United Way of Jamaica committees, and another approximately half of them are joint committees with the CVSS. So I'm going to
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm going to deal with the United Way of Jamaica committees. We have campaign cabinet.
Campaign cabinet.
Campaign cabinet. It's really campaign committee, but you know, we love the fancy words. And so this committee has 2 co-chairs. Bishop Gary Welsh, who is our Assistant Commissioner of Police, who I know you would know.
I know him well.
Yes, and I know why you would know him well. And the chaplain for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Bishop Gary Welsh. And then, because of Zoso and the pressure on Bishop Welsh, we invited Chris Law, who is one of the luminaries with Sagicor, to come and to help us to focus on corporate giving. So Bishop Welsh is focusing on employee giving, because you may not know that the police, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, is our largest group of employees who give. Over 4,500 police men and women give to the United Way of Jamaica. So that's a campaign. It's a fundraising part of United Way. Then we have the Young Leaders Committee that Naomi Garrick was recently appointed.
And I know her too.
Absolutely. We know she's a PR chick. She's steeped in PR. So we're expecting her to drive that. We have the Communications Committee, which really focuses on PR and marketing. Marcia Erskine.
I know her too.
Yes. Of the Women's Leadership Initiative. WLI is a committee, a very important committee of the United Way of Jamaica. And Charvel Johnson chairs that committee. So Marcia is a former chair of WLI. Charvel is the current chair. We have Project Evaluation Committee. So when the projects come in, chaired by Lorna Ladley, when the projects come in, we don't just say, we like this one, we don't like that one.
Almost like an audit, quality control, management going in there.
They are screened. And you can understand that we get more than, water more than flour.
Yes.
So we get more requests sometimes than the money, which is why we need to give more money. Which camera am I looking to? We need to give more money. That's my camera. Yes. And so project evaluation will evaluate, and then project allocation will select among those who have been evaluated. We do a selection that is chaired by Lance Neater, who is based in Mandeville. Then we have the joint committees. Finance and admin is jointly, it's a joint committee of the United Way of Jamaica and the CVSS, and government and international relations, planning and research, programs and technical assistance. These are joint committees. So we are deeply embedded in all aspects of the voluntary sector of Jamaica.
So you got yourself a structure.
We have a structure.
All right. Now you're going to use this structure, and you have goals and objectives and what have you. I know you've just launched your campaign to raise funds for 2018-19, yes?
$120 million, our target.
$120 million.
Yes, which is not a lot of money.
Between now and when?
We would like it to be between now and the end of February. But yes, and we're about to have on the 8th of December, we're going to have one of our primary fundraisers, the Live United concert. That concert is in about its 4th year of iteration. Michelle Reynolds, who you know, Michelle is instrumental in making sure that that concert happens every year, aided by Fab Five. Franklin Campbell and his team, they have been outstanding. JC Auditorium, we get that free every year. Ian Forbes, our immediate past president, has the JC connection and sports connection. So Ian makes sure that we get that auditorium. And this year we would like to see it full. It can hold over 1,000. We need to see it full, Michael. We need the money to come in so that we can help. Our primary thrust this year, as guided by our discussions with the Planning Institute of Jamaica, because we just don't go off on our own and say, okay.
You want your goals to match with the needs.
National goals, yes. So we meet with the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and we set our targets to be in tandem with the needs of our country, Jamaica. early childhood education is an established need,
Yes.
and the 12 standards matter, and making sure that the basic schools are properly up to standard. So this year we have spent a lot of time just trying to make sure that we give time and effort and money towards these schools.
Is that your primary target this?
Parenting and early childhood education.
Oh, yes.
Parenting and early childhood. So far
Yes.
we've been focusing on the early childhood, but we have a couple project submissions in that we're evaluating for parenting. As I say, water more than flour.
Yes, but I just want to look at that national goal in terms of you're going at it. And when you hear the stories, the little girls, little boys, parents, a mother dousing her son and burning him, as we speak on this
It breaks
program.
your heart, when you hear.
You worry about the parenting.
Yes.
And how do you, in light of the projects, if you can give us some insight, where do you make connection with these parents that really need help?
This is a challenge, Michael. If you're not careful, you get so overwhelmed and so distraught that you drop your hand and say, well, I can't do anything. I can't help to solve this problem. So with the parenting part, in the past we have, but for this present dispensation, we're just doing the workup now. We have a couple of projects that have been submitted.
Yes.
The evaluation team is going to work, and it is anticipated that early, I don't want to call the names,
Yes.
that early in the new year, we will assign funds for those projects to be able to crank up. I can tell you that one of them is in a community now that was doing extremely well with peace and then has started with the violence again.
I must be all astounded. That's a dead giveaway. It's so sad. And very interesting that parenting and early childhood are wedded.
Wedded.
Because there really is no distinction, because one without the other is ruinous. If you don't have good parenting, they won't see the value of early. And then we reap the whirlwind later down,
Yes.
because they don't
Yes.
exactly occupy the same space and time. But we're going to reap that ugly monster at the end where people are turning on
And
their own.
that is why we give, Michael. That is why so many of us, because every person on the board, okay, we pay a very small board fee, $2,000 a year, which is nothing.
Yes.
But each member of the board, also when we have the launch of campaign, you weren't there, we missed you,
Yes.
but it was recorded. The number of board directors, for example, our new co-chair who come up and pledge their personal money.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
not just that we're there coming and giving our talents.
Yes.
We also, as members, I can just reel off, they mightn't want me to say it, but I can tell you, Elon Beckford every year gives his personal money. Alvaro Casserly, who is
Yes.
86 years
Yes.
old.
Yes.
Noel Da Costa,
Yes.
Marcia Forbes, never speak about yourself in the third person.
Yes.
Or CEO Winsome Wilkins,
Yes.
Ian Forbes,
Yes.
these people, Bishop Welsh,
Yes.
the ones who came on board this year, Naomi, Chris,
Yes.
Scott
And of
Dunn.
course, what stood out for me is Dr. Chen, through his daughter.
Yes, Robert Chen
Yes.
is 23
Keep
years
on giving.
every year. Robert Chen, 23 years. That is something that, at least $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people, just before we take the break, will perhaps say, all right, so you're structured. But when you name the project, parenting and early childhood, it will make a difference.
Yes.
Because if we want to solve what's happening, not today, but for the future, we know the value of giving. And we'll continue to find out who is this lady. We'll be right back on The Insight. Welcome back to Insight. I'm Michael Sharp, and I'm with Marcia Forbes, the chairperson of United Way of Jamaica. Who is this lady? What prepared her for all of this? Her passion is evident. She wants to, and if you know her well enough, she wants to be the best chairperson ever there was in Cedar, and that is a noble position. Where were you born, ma'am? Which parish?
I felt like you just said me up a while ago. Oh my God.
No, but I know you. You want to
Yes,
be.
yes.
And that is fine.
And
that's
sometimes
right.
that irritates people.
Oh, they
because
shouldn't.
sometimes
They
when they
shouldn't.
strive for excellence, you have people who will, what she
Yeah.
think she is? Oh, where she going? She not more than me.
Yeah, but we don't have time for
But
that.
I do strive for excellence, and
Yes.
I don't let naysayers deter me.
No.
So yes, I was born in Kingston, so I'm a proper, yes.
Victoria Jubilee?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
a proper
line in.
proper Kingstonian.
Okay.
Yes.
You went to which school?
I went to my aunt's all-age school first.
I like that.
Because
Didn't go to the high school thing, life started
no,
before
because
high
my
school.
aunt was a head teacher,
Okay.
and I grew up with her. She was the only mother I knew. I
Yes.
went to live with her when I was 3 years old because my father sent her to teachers college, and the pact was that she would bring me up as if I were her own.
Yes.
Save for changing the name. If I had changed my name, I wouldn't have been McLaverty. I would have been Hoyen. Well, my mother thought she wanted me to stick with the McLaverty, so
Okay.
I was still McLaverty. And so Craigton all-age school it was at the time, and then I did my common entrance, and everybody who did their common entrance with Auntie's teaching, you had to pass.
Okay.
I got through to the school of my first choice, which was St. Hugh's High School.
Okay.
And then my cousin got through, but she didn't get the full scholarship, and
Yes,
she couldn't
half
get into
scholarship. Yes, yes.
she couldn't get into St. Hugh's. And you can imagine my poor uncle, we grew up in Irish Town.
Yeah,
So to
okay.
drive from Irish Town, to drop me at St. Hugh's,
Yes.
to drop her at Queens, and then on to Cremo, it was impossible.
But Cremo, hold on. Queens was a half scholarship?
Yeah, well, Queens accepted her.
But Queens a big school.
Well, Queens accepted her, but St. Hugh's
Four
wouldn't.
sisters who went in it, doctors and lawyers and all.
All
things.
right.
All right. I was just bound St. Hugh's.
And I know
a little bit.
Arlene from Queens.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
The viewers might not know what that means.
All right.
But yes, and so I got a transfer.
Okay.
Very unceremoniously, before I went into third form, over that summer, I was moved from St. Hugh's to Queens.
Okay.
So Professor Celia Christie and many of great renown were
Yeah.
St. Hugh's first formers, Leith Dunn, Dr.
Okay,
Leith Dunn, were
yes.
at St. Hugh's in my time.
Okay.
You know, and then I went to Queens, and I was in equally good company.
Yes.
People like Dr. Marilyn Miller and Pat Compo.
Yes.
We were all Hillary Hicklin, Freddie Hicklin,
Yes.
Dr. Hillary Hicklin,
yes.
Prudence Gentles of Crime Stop that I know you
Yes,
know well.
yes.
We were all at that same.
So what you wanted to be when you grew big at that time?
I wanted to lecture history. I have a pass in history, in every history. British history, English history, Jamaican history, I'm exaggerating.
Yes, yes.
West Indian history, I have passes in
And
all.
that has fitted you for research.
I loved reading and researching, but a man intervened, as life would have it.
Oh.
So when I met my husband, when I just finished lower sixth at
And
Queens,
we call him Paddy. You see.
Paddy. Everybody calls him Paddy. Richard Howard Delano Forbes,
Yes, yes.
Senior,
Yes,
because
that's
Junior has
right.
the same
I know,
name.
yes.
And so when I met Paddy over that summer before I went to upper sixth,
Yes.
he was besotted. I was not. Let me just get the history right. He will tell people that I was, but I wasn't.
yes.
But the rest is history. He wanted to marry a nurse. He thought that every day that the sun rose in the morning, it rose on a nurse. And every day that the sun went down in the evening, it went down on a nurse. And it was very annoying to me.
Yes.
And so I had to prove that I could be
More than a nurse.
no nurse no more than me. And so as a teenager, having, did very badly in my A-levels
Yeah.
because I spent the whole year planning wedding.
Okay.
Yes. Never got married till after I graduated from nursing, but the whole time
Yeah.
was, teenagers.
Yes.
Totally distracted. And so I applied to nursing and went into nursing after my sixth form. So I went in as a teenager, and I did extremely well at nursing. I was Nurse of the Year for the University Hospital. I came first or second every year. I got prizes And I'm a proper nurse.
Okay.
I'm a registered general nurse. I'm a registered midwife. If they'll check the records, they'll see that I was top of my class in everything. I'm a critical care nurse.
Okay.
I'm a nurse. I'm a trained nurse educator.
Okay.
Yes, I did my advanced nursing education at UE.
So we didn't lose it to overseas, we lose it to private sector.
Well, you didn't lose me, you didn't lose me, because I have brought my skills even to TVJ.
Yes.
As the first general manager of Television Jamaica.
Yes.
I'll tell you that my nursing put me in such good stead.
Yes.
The amount of psychology that I did, I was a ward sister in my my mid-20s. Yes, men would look at me, may I speak to Sister Forbes? I said, this is she. And it's like, no, you're not, you're a little girl. Okay. I have on my big red belt with my big piece of lace on my hat, but they still didn't think I was Sister Forbes. Anyway, nursing gave me a very good grounding for life.
Yes. Yes.
Truly. And so all the challenges and the transition of TVG, because you learn to work with people, and you understand people in illness and in health. Yes. And so I would never tell anybody that I've regretted. In the same way,
you moved on, and you know Dr. Forbes, and you wrote a book, which
I wrote 2 books.
2 books, but there's one that dealt with the whole social media aspect and how you and I just figure you historian, nurse, that served you well in terms of that research, because that would take some serious research.
And in fact, my second book, called Streaming, Social Media, Mobile Lifestyles, all research-based, has put me in good stead for the United Way of Jamaica. Because as soon as I became the chairperson, and being aware, based on the data we collected, of the lack of awareness of the United Way of Jamaica, and understanding the power of social media, we immediately brought on somebody. I wrote the plan, aided by the staff at United Way, the strategic plan for the social media campaign, and we launched it on the 16th of April, and we have seen engagement rise, number of followers increase on Instagram. It's more than double since we started. United Way Worldwide has been paying great attention. Very encouraging, very complimentary. Thank you, Jose and Janet, because they respond and talk to us on social media.
Allow me a little bit of an indulgence, because this one is personal. And tell me how that fitted you and impacted your life. I remember that night. Phase 3 was burned to the ground. Help me, give me the phoenix rising from the ashes. I remember that.
Yeah, that was a very tough time. In fact, I was in Bahamas.
Yes.
I was in Bahamas because I was vice president of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union. And I remember Rosemary Smith, my admin assistant at TVJ, and Yvonne, our HR manager at TVJ, Trevor Johnson. They were there with
Michael
Paddy.
Sharp was there.
Michael Sharp, yes, because I know TVJ carried a news story, and my son was there, Delano, and Paddy was blind.
Yes.
And the fire started a couple of warehouses down. Yes. But the way the warehouses were built, they weren't sealed at the top. And so the fire leapt across from Mr. Levy's cleaning store to the Dazwane's jewelry place, and then to Phase 3, where the corner lot. And when they called me in the Bahamas, those members of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, they rallied around, they got me out of Bahamas. It's one of the only times I've traveled in a Juta taxi.
Yes.
I came to the airport, I took a Juta taxi, I went to Phase 3, which was on Osborne Road, and I bawled.
What you saw, yes.
And then I took a week leave. We found a place, thank God, Caldwell Bankers. Oh God, his name. Caldwell Banker.
I'm seeing him. I know you're talking.
He was so kind to us. We went, we looked at our premises in the trade center. It was a demo unit. It was not for sale. And they sold us that demo unit, gave us, facilitated the mortgage, and we acquired that unit. Within 1 week, we had acquired that unit. And so Delano, my son, had said to you in the television interview that phase 3 will be like the phoenix.
Yes, yes.
And I look at fast forward.
Yes.
Phase 3 is 34 years old now. We're 35 next year, so I'm busy planning our 35th anniversary and what we'll do. But truthfully, we had no insurance.
Yes.
Because we were renegotiating insurance coverage at the time. So it was tough. It was tough. But now over the last 3 weeks we've been covering, creating content and covering in 4 Caribbean countries. We're in Cuba for CONCACAF, editing in Spanish. We were in Guadeloupe over the past week, editing in French. We have a team doing some meetings in Miami. We're in Bahamas, and we're going back later on this month. And we're in Grand Cayman covering a match.
Give me in a sentence or two the importance of this lesson. Burn to the ground, hit rock bottom, but when I look at phase 3 now rolling out, I'm like, wow, I remember that night.
Never lose hope. And the resilience of the human spirit, because as blind as Paddy was, we all said, okay, we're not going to lay down and bawl. We're not going to cry. TVJ was very good for me because I had missed the first week of starting my job there because Paddy was going blind and I had to take him overseas to the eye specialist. And then this week now to try and get things going with the company. And, people have been very, very good to us. I tell, sometimes I hear women bashing other women. And I tell people that in my life, women have been some of my greatest supporters. So the same Rosie Smith, Rosie Allen, she is now. As I came back from overseas Sunday night, I see a message from Rose Allen, and I'm saying, who the hell is Rose Allen? Rosemary Smith Allen calling me about KC. Because Paddy was a Fortis man. I know you're Calabar. My two brothers are Calabar.
Rosemary is a Casey.
Yes, and Rosie wants money for Casey. So I said, okay, I'm going to deal with Rosie on Friday because I have all these other things to do before.
Yes. And give me a little quick thing because I have to change panel now. The future of United Way.
I asked, we're doing the book, and so I've been interviewing some of the stalwarts, and I said to Alvaro Casserly, I said, how do you see the United Way? He says, it's bright, it's very bright. And I wondered what would give this 86-year-old man with all the foundations and the challenges of, and it is that hope and confidence that what we're doing is good work and it's God's work. And so we know that we're going to keep going.
We're going to take that break at this point because the voice of God is in my ears and says, Sharp, you need to take a break. So we take a break from Insight. Welcome back to Insight, talking about volunteers and giving, donating, and the value of that, and the inward peace and pleasure you might even get from it. We have a gentleman who I would suspect is getting there or has arrived, and we're talking about Christopher Law, that's L-A-W-E, a very strange way of spelling law to me. But welcome, sir. You are a donor?
Yes, correct. I'm a donor. Thank you, Michael.
You're a first-time
donor.
First-time donor?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Christopher, what did it feel like giving the first time?
It felt good. The motivation came from the right place and the right person.
Yes.
So, it's a good feeling to be a part of something so positive.
Why is it important to? What do you understand? Because it would have taken you something to get there. I mean, nobody put a gun at your head or a knife at your throat.
Sure.
You got there of your own volition. When you speak to others who are watching now, and what caused you to go there, and why is it important?
Right. Well, I'll give you two phases, Michael. Why is it important to me before I tell you why it's important? Of course, this is outside of the fact that when somebody as important as a doctor Forbes calls upon you,
Yes.
you know, you need to give it some consideration.
That's right.
But I mean, further to that, it kind of resonated with me in terms of, I'm in a business where networking and all that kind of thing is important. I've always grown up in a family.
Just explain your business right away.
I'm a branch manager of Holborn Spartans. We like to call ourselves Holborn Branch Sagicor Life Insurance Sales.
Sagicor Life Insurance.
Correct.
Sales. Okay.
Right. And grew up in a family where very church and family oriented. You know, giving has always been a part of, you know, helping out. A lot of what John public would not know of me, one would say, or my background is that my mom grew very poor. My mom is a country girl that grew very poor. So there's a connection to, you know, the giving back. There was always, back in the day when, you know, you hear your dad talk about Kiwanis and that kind of thing.
Yes.
But I think in modern times, it has kind of, I've found with my generation anyway, that the connection to a Kiwanis and a Rotary and Rotaract and all these things, this kind of boy, how I can go network, how I can go look some business.
Yes.
And you kind of get lost in the transition or translation of volunteerism, of actual giving.
Yes.
And so with Auntie Marcia, as I call her sometimes, reaching out to me and us having a bit of you know, conversation and discussion, I really found it to be an excellent opportunity as one of the, I don't like to be the one to say it, but as one of the upcoming leaders of, you know, it's important to give back, and it's important to.
Yes. You spoke of your mother's country. Which country is it?
She's from, they always have a challenge to decipher whether it's technically St. Catherine or St. Mary, but it's a district called Bonnet.
Bonnet,
which is
near
which
Geisel
is-
Way.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yeah,
One of the few people that actually know where it is.
You know, St. Anne is not far. You know, I'm a Blackstone-Edge, Colgate type of St. Anne guy. So
right, yeah.
I know where the three parishes.
Right,
near
exactly.
Geisel
So
there, yes.
depending which side you go
That's
off
right.
into the hill, you're
That's
not
right.
sure which.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
man.
right. The issue of networking, as you mentioned, and you've really thrown a major thought in this way, that all the way before the things that Dr. Forbes write about networking and
Social
smartphones
media,
and social
right,
media,
right.
hitherto they were the one, they played that role.
Right, yes.
They
yes,
played that role.
because networking once upon a time could only be physical.
That's right. But now you can stay anywhere in the world,
Right.
literally, and be a part of this program or
Right.
other programs like this. So therefore, the need for the social part of networking, the human social touch,
Right.
seems to be more required for the keyboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if I looked at the way you said, you know, the Kiwanis thing and the Rotaract thing and that type of stuff. But United Way of Jamaica still need that human touch.
Certainly.
You know, as a man who addresses the issue of volunteerism and what I see United Way doing with the schools, would you think we would be able to quantify the value of volunteerism? You know, how much is that worth? Because you know they might not do that, but it's worth a whole lot of money.
Right, right. Well, quantifying it is one thing, and what are we quantifying? Are we quantifying the dollar value, or are we quantifying the result of what can happen from
Well, I'm
giving
greedy,
to
both.
these?
Both.
You know, I will tell you, even at our campaign launch, I was so touched when just because I must tell you, I'm familiarizing
Yes.
myself with all of the processes of
Yes,
the United
yes.
Way, and
Yes, yes.
of course, being the co-chair for the campaign. You know, you want to kind of get in as deep as quickly as possible.
Yes.
But I was very touched when there was, I don't remember the young gentleman's name, or I can say a little boy was a teenager who, when you kind of get the background of the story or situation, just a year ago he was unable to read anything. And at this function, he marched up to the podium and read a letter that he wrote. He was giving his testimony to United Way, who had helped guide him to know he can read.
Yeah. And sometimes I just justify everything. Eh?
Right.
The one
Right.
smarty, as we say.
Right.
The one person.
And so again, quantifying, the qualitative and quantitative aspect of it. How do you quantify that this is someone who could easily become
money
a
don't
victim
match
to
that.
circumstance,
Yeah, the money don't match
It
that.
don't match it.
That money don't
Check
match
this person 20 years later, if he follows on that path of what has happened to him in just under a year, what will he be in 20 years?
And that can give anybody a mental and a spiritual high.
Exactly.
Easier than any caviar or
Exactly.
Hennessy, or not to knock any brand, but it is just that type of inspiration that you can get from giving.
Right.
But what's your role as co-chair of the campaign committee?
Well, technically, we'll go back to the point we're on, the quantitative. It's really, the role is, as we would have been hearing from Dr. Forbes earlier, to kind of partner with Bishop, who is, he is handling a lot of the salary deduction side of things and the employee side of things, and being kind of positioned in the corporate environment, which is my natural environment.
Yes.
From a day-to-day basis, is to kind of get a surge, starting from awareness, of course, and then, trying to pull out what kind of funding and what kind of cooperation we can get from that side of the of Jamaica to give into these. My intention also, though, is to pair the efforts, because the employee giving can come into the corporate side of things as well.
That is a fact, because there's deduction here as well.
Exactly.
But let me ask you, and there's, I spend a lot of time in the classroom sometimes. I'm going to give you a question. I'm going to give you a business-related question.
Okay.
I should give, what's in it for me? What's in it for me?
What's in it for you is a peace of mind of knowing that you're contributing to a better country. Mm-hmm. You're contributing to the future of us, because we can't separate ourselves from where and what we exist. We're all Jamaicans.
So you're suggesting to me that I don't have a little thing that I said, beam me up, Scotty, and I go up at night and come down in the days. I have to live here.
Right.
So it's important.
So, and it's a personal. If I may tie in business a little bit, I mean, that's not what we're here about, but it's what I know and do on a daily basis. And I recruit and hire and train a lot of young persons from various backgrounds. And when years later someone comes to you and says, boy, Chris, thanks for introducing me to this business. And that feeling that you get inside. Again, going back to that little boy, I don't know, I didn't get such fine details in terms of who would have reached out to him specifically, who would have introduced him to United Way or vice versa. But I'm sure whoever that person is, that little boy will be forever grateful. And the feeling of being on the other end is a feeling that it's almost like parenting. You can't explain that love and that feeling that you have.
What's your target again? What's your
goal? 120 million.
120 million Jamaican dollars. Jamaican dollars.
And I noticed you clarified the Jamaican dollars, because you and I know that in the grand scheme of things, 120 million dollars is not a whole heap of money.
It's not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money.
If you ever put up the divider by 130 or 1, you realize how little that is. Exactly. I know you don't need 120 because I know somebody gave $1 million. Mm-hmm. So when I was hearing the program, I said, okay, so that means 119.
Mm-hmm. So where are we now? Where are we now? We at the last about 37% of target. Okay. So we're still way off.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes. But with the season coming up of giving, we hope to go over that.
Yes, for sure.
When people say, because you're the chair and you go out there and you say, well, I'm going to raise this X amount of money for this. I'm going to answer, to do what? What you tell them?
Well, one of the things that kind of, I would say, concretized me wanting to partner or be a part of United Way is for exactly that reason. There is the transparency is paramount to the organization. The things that they're directed to, as we're discussing earlier, is early childhood and parenting, which again is the future of the country, is the future of us. So it is, one can even through United Way specify how they want their funds to be allocated, so to speak. The preference, of course, is to, because of the process that we go to choose the programs.
Yes.
The reality is that we like having the flexibility.
Yes, yes, indeed.
But right.
Indeed. Because everything could be skewed one way. And
Exactly.
yes, yes.
But one can actually specify, how they want their giving to be allocated.
Yes. Give us a sense of who you are. From whence did you come? The first thing we ask, is which school you did go.
Right. You want from prep school?
Prep school, man, because I was testing you and saying you were going to start with a high school thing,
I went to Hillel Prep.
Hillel?
I went to Hillel Prep, yes.
My children went to Hillel Prep.
Right. So I think that verifies that I'm an uptown boy.
Well, no, it didn't. I wasn't uptown boy, but I just got them there anyway.
Right. So I went to Hillel. I started off Hillel High as well, but I was a little bit involved with sports at the time, and kind of, even though I'm an uptown boy, I tend to kind of like, flexing a little bit and things. So I found that the high school wasn't for me.
Yes.
It was still a natural environment, but I wanted a little more out of sports and that kind of thing. So I moved on to Wolmer's.
Okay, well, you almost dropped out, but you're halfway there.
Right,
Cross roads.
I transferred to
Yes,
Wolmer's.
very well. You how did you get yourself involved with business and Sagicor and?
Well, for those who know the family name, it is a name that has been in the insurance field for many years, and I actually studied piloting. And that was my pursuit, and I'd kind of reached that point where when you have your pilot license and stuff, you're just flying around to rack up hours, as we would call it, to become Air Jamaica ready at the time. That's right. And so I had a lot of free time. I'm an early morning man. I had the wheels up very early in the morning and back down. Basically, don't have anything to do for the rest of the day, kind of thing. And my father he figured I would enjoy it, and so he introduced me flirted with the idea of it, and then just started and getting into it, I just fell in love.
And here you are. I want to thank you, sir, for being the face of a young donor and to encourage the others, because while I'm not able to donate personally because of my own financial restrictions, we can only donate the time.
Right.
And I would imagine those who can't come up with the cash can go volunteer.
Certainly.
Because when I saw those guys pushing the thing with the cement in it, I said, that's another way of giving.
Definitely.
That's another way of giving. Find out what's going on. Definitely. And should they want to make contact with United Way of Jamaica, or where do they find?
Well, we're in modern times. We can always jump on
Google it. Facebook it.
Yeah.
I know you can do. Yeah, Twitter it.
Right.
All right.
And of course, even more modern times, we are on Instagram as well.
Instagram as well. I want to thank you very much, sir, and of course to Dr. Forbes earlier, and to United Way of Jamaica for keeping Jamaica alive. And I really am passionate about it, because government alone can't do it. Right. We'll never be able to do it. And without volunteerism and all those other clubs out there, we thank them. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts. Until next time, Michael Sharp signing off from Insight.